Rain poured over the small town like it wanted to wash away all sins of earth. In the middle of the night, when most lights were off and streets were silent, a single figure walked slowly under the heavy sky. Her silver-gray skin shimmered faintly whenever lightning flashed. She looked human, but not quite. Her eyes were brighter, glowing with a soft blue light, and her steps were weak, as if she had been walking for years. She carried something close to her chest, a small bundle wrapped in an old blanket. Every time thunder roared, the little bundle made a soft sound, a baby's whimper, but she hushed it gently. "Shh, little one," she whispered, her voice trembling. "We'll find someone who will open the door tonight." For 3 years, this alien mother had wandered from one city to another. Every door she knocked on was closed to her. People screamed, hid, or called the authorities. She had no name here, no home, and no friend, only a promise made long ago to a man she once loved, a human soldier who never returned. Now, with her strength fading, she reached the edge of a small human town called Riversend. She could barely walk, but the lights from the houses pulled her forward. Her wet feet touched the cold road as she looked at the rows of quiet homes, their curtains shut tight, their hearts asleep. She stopped at the first door. Her hand shook as she raised it. Knock, 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 nothing. She waited, shivering. Her silver hair stuck to her face from the rain. She knocked again, louder this time. "Please," she whispered, her voice breaking. "Please, I just need shelter for one night." The baby began to cry softly. From inside the house, lights flickered. A man's shadow moved behind the curtain, but then it disappeared. The lights went off again. She closed her eyes, biting her lip to stop the tears. "It's okay, my child. We'll try the next one, door after door, street after street." Each knock sounded weaker than the last. Each silence grew heavier. She didn't know that behind one of those curtains, people were watching through half-open blinds, terrified of her glowing eyes, her strange skin, and the rumors spreading through the town about a star woman seen wandering with a baby. Some said she was dangerous. Some said she was cursed. No one wanted to take the risk. By midnight, she reached the edge of town, soaked and trembling. Her legs finally gave out near an old workshop. A faded sign read, "Ethan's Repairs and Restorations." Through the rain, a dim yellow light shone inside. She stood there staring at it. Her lips trembled. "Just one more door," she whispered. "Maybe this one." She raised her hand again. Knock, knock, knock. Inside the workshop, a young man sat near a broken motorcycle. He looked tired, covered in grease, but his heart was kind. Ethan Cole was a man who had stopped believing in miracles until he heard that knock. At first, he ignored it. Who would be visiting him this late? Maybe another drunk customer. But then he heard it again. Soft, desperate, not angry or impatient. Just sad. Something about it made him stand up. He walked slowly to the door and pulled it open, and there she was. A woman with silver skin drenched in rain, her eyes glowing faintly blue. In her arms, a small baby wrapped in a thin blanket, shivering. Ethan froze. His first instinct was fear. He had seen the news, stories about strange beings found outside the cities. But then he saw her eyes. They weren't cold or threatening. They were begging, tired, human. "Please," she said softly, her voice breaking. "I mean no harm. Just one night. Child, he's cold." Ethan looked at the baby, who whimpered softly and clutched the woman's hand. Lightning flashed behind her, making her look both terrifying and heartbreakingly beautiful. Something deep in Ethan's chest stirred. Maybe it was pity. Maybe it was something more, something that whispered, "Don't close this door." He hesitated, glancing at the street behind her. No one was there, only the rain and the wind. Without a word, he stepped aside. "Come in." The alien mother's breath caught in her throat. For the first time in 3 years, someone had said those words. She stepped in quietly, holding the baby close. Warm air filled the room, and for a brief second her eyes softened, her shoulders lowering from years of fear. Ethan closed the door behind her and locked it. "What's your name?" he asked gently. She looked at him, confused for a moment, then whispered, "I had one, but humans can't say it." "Then tell me what it means," he said. She looked down at her baby and smiled weakly. "It means hope." The baby opened his tiny glowing eyes and looked straight at Ethan. For a moment, the world seemed to pause. The rain outside stopped mattering, the silence became heavy, and an invisible thread formed between them. Ethan didn't know it yet, but that single knock would change everything. His life, his world, and maybe the fate of two species. Outside, the wind howled again, rattling the door he had just closed. The night whispered softly, the one she searched for has finally opened the door. The small workshop was silent except for the soft ticking of a clock and the gentle hum of rain outside. Ethan watched the alien woman as she stood near the heater, holding her baby close. Steam rose from her wet clothes, and for the first time in years, warmth touched her cold hands. She looked around the room, tools hanging on the wall, machines half open, wires spread across the table. It was a human world, rough but alive. Her eyes softened for a moment. This feels like his world, she thought. Ethan offered her a towel and a cup of warm tea. You must be freezing, he said quietly. She hesitated, then took it with both hands, whispering, Thank you. Human. He smiled a little. Ethan, my name's Ethan, and you? She looked down, her voice trembling. They used to call me Asheran. It means the one who hopes in my language, but I haven't heard that name in a long time. The baby stirred in her arms, and she rocked him gently. The child's eyes glowed faintly in the dim light, not as bright as hers, but still unearthly. Ethan couldn't stop staring. He's beautiful, he said. Her lips quivered into a faint smile. He's his father's son. For a long moment, there was silence between them. Ethan wanted to ask, who was his father? Where did you come from? But something about her tired face told him not to push. Finally, she whispered, You want to know how I came here? Ethan nodded quietly. And so she began to tell him. 3 years ago, on a burning world, her world, Nera, was dying. The skies had turned red, oceans boiled, and their leaders blamed humanity for poisoning their trade routes with radiation. War had started, fast and brutal. Humans fought to protect their colonies. The Nerans fought for revenge, but among the soldiers, one man didn't fight like the others. His name was Captain Lucas Ward. He had crash-landed near a ruined alien village, wounded and alone. Asheran found him half buried in the sand, bleeding and delirious. She could have left him to die. That's what her people would have wanted. But something in his eyes stopped her. There was no hate there, only pain and kindness. She carried him to a cave and treated his wounds with alien herbs. For weeks they hid together from patrols, alien and human both. They didn't speak the same language at first, but slowly, they learned each other's words through gestures, smiles, and laughter. He called me Asha, she said softly, staring into the heater's glow. He said it sounded like hope. And that's what he was for me. Ethan listened, his hands still, his breath shallow. She continued. When the war ended, his ship came for him. He wanted me to go with him to Earth, but I couldn't. My people would have called me a traitor, so he left me one thing instead. She lifted her hand and touched the pendant around her neck, a small metallic crystal glowing faintly. He said, if anything happens, find the one with my eyes. He will protect you both. Her voice cracked. I didn't understand what he meant until later. The fall of Nera, when Lucas left, she discovered she was carrying his child, a life that should never have existed between two worlds. Her own people called the baby an abomination. They hunted her, burned her home, and forced her to flee. She tried to contact Lucas, but Earth's gates were closed. The war had poisoned the stars with mistrust, so she began her journey, stealing ships, crossing planets, hiding in shadows. Every world turned her away. Every planet she touched brought new danger. The baby. He was all I had left of Lucas, she said softly. So I promised him. I promised I would find the one who could protect our child, even if it took forever. Ethan's throat tightened. You searched for 3 years? She nodded. 3 long years. I knocked on every human door I could find. They all closed. Until yours. Her eyes met his, glowing faintly blue in the dim room. Ethan felt something deep inside him shift. A quiet pull, like the universe had drawn her here for a reason. The baby made a soft sound, stretching tiny fingers toward Ethan. When he touched the child's hand, a faint light shimmered between them, a warm, golden glow that pulsed once and faded. Asheran gasped, covering her mouth. It can't be. Ethan pulled his hand back, startled. What's happening? She looked at him with disbelief. That light, it's a bond signal. My people use it to recognize bloodkin. It means you carry his energy. Ethan frowned. You mean Lucas? Yes, she whispered. You carry his bloodline. The air grew heavy with silence. Ethan's heart pounded. He wanted to deny it. He had never heard of any Lucas Ward in his family, but something in his chest burned, like an echo answering her words. Asharan held the baby tighter. Then it's true. You are the one he spoke of, the one with his eyes. Ethan stood frozen. His mind spun between disbelief and awe. He looked at her, this exhausted, brave mother, and then at the child. Something deep inside told him that this wasn't a coincidence. Maybe fate had guided her to his door. Maybe that single knock wasn't random. The rain had stopped outside, but the wind whispered softly through the cracks of the old workshop. And as the baby fell asleep in her arms, Asharan whispered to herself, "Lucas, I found him. After 3 years, I finally found the one." Ethan didn't hear her words. He was staring at the faint glow still flickering on his fingertips, not knowing it was the beginning of something far greater than either of them could imagine. Morning came slowly to the little town of Riversend. Golden light filtered through the dusty windows of Ethan's workshop, painting soft lines across the floor. For the first time in years, the place felt alive. There was quiet breathing, a baby's soft cry, and the faint hum of something strange, a light coming from the metal box Asharan kept close to her chest. Ethan had not slept all night. He sat at his workbench staring at the box. It wasn't like anything he'd ever seen. It had no seams, no screws, no switches. Yet it pulsed with a rhythm, like a heartbeat. He whispered to himself, "What are you hiding, Asha?" Behind him, she stirred. Wrapped in a blanket, her silver skin gleamed softly under the light. She looked more human now, fragile, tired, and yet somehow unbreakable. "Good morning," she said softly. "You didn't rest." Ethan gave a faint smile. "Couldn't. That thing. It's alive, isn't it?" Asharan looked down at the box and nodded. "It's not a machine. It's a memory vault. It holds the essence of what Lucas wanted to pass on. But it can only be opened by blood from both sides, human and Naren." Ethan raised a brow. "Both sides, like me?" Her glowing eyes met his. "Yes, you are the key, Ethan." He felt his heart thump faster. He wasn't sure what scared him more, the idea of being connected to an alien legacy, or the thought that this quiet woman might be telling the truth. Hours passed as Ethan repaired small things around the workshop, pretending not to stare at her. Asharan watched him too, his careful hands, his calm nature, his way of fixing broken things. It reminded her of Lucas. But Ethan was different. He was gentler, quieter. His kindness didn't come from duty, it came from something deeper. At noon, the baby began to cry again. Ethan approached slowly, awkwardly. "May I?" She hesitated, then handed him the child. The baby's tiny. Fingers wrapped around one of his, and again that faint golden light flickered. Asha gasped softly. "He trusts you." Ethan smiled, rocking the baby in his arms. "He's got strong lungs, like his mom." She laughed quietly, the first sound of peace he'd heard from her. "He has his father's eyes, and maybe his courage." But the moment didn't last. A faint mechanical buzz came from outside, distant but sharp. Asha froze. Her ears twitched slightly. "They found us." Ethan frowned. "Who?" "Hunters," she whispered. "Not humans. Machines built to track my kind. They can sense our energy signature." Ethan looked around. "Then we'll hide you." He quickly moved to the back of the workshop, pulling a tarp aside to reveal a small storage pit under the floor. "I use this to hide expensive parts from thieves," he said. "You'll be safe here." Asha hesitated. "What about you?" "I'll say I'm alone," he replied. "I've handled worse things than curious officers." But when he peeked through the dusty window, what he saw wasn't human at all. 3 silver drones hovered low across the street, silent with blinking red eyes scanning every door. Asha whispered, "They won't stop. They can smell energy. If they find me, they'll kill anyone who helped. Ethan clenched his fists. Then I'll fix that. He turned to his workbench, grabbing a handful of tools, wires, magnets, and an old battery core. His hands moved fast, confident. What are you doing? Asha asked. Making them blind, he said. You're not the only one with secrets. For years, Ethan had been more than just a mechanic. He had once worked in military research, designing energy disruptors before he quit, disgusted by how his inventions were used. He wired together a small circular device glowing blue. EMP pulse generator, he muttered. Should knock them out for a few minutes. Asha stared at him, surprised. You're not just a repairman, he gave her a wry smile. We all have a past. As the drones came closer, he pressed the device to the window and whispered, Hold on. He flipped the switch. A wave of blue light exploded silently, rippling through the street. The drones froze mid-air, their red eyes flickering, then dropped to the ground like lifeless metal birds. Ethan exhaled. That should buy us a little time. Asha looked at him, a strange emotion in her eyes. You risked your life for us. He shrugged. You knocked on my door. I answered. That means something. She touched his shoulder gently. You have his courage too. That night while the baby slept, Ethan couldn't resist any longer. He studied the glowing box again. If this really holds Lucas's memory, he said quietly, maybe it can tell us what's coming. Asha hesitated. It can't open without both our blood. But if you wish, we can try. They each pressed a drop of blood to the surface. The box vibrated, then opened silently like a flower made of light. A projection filled the room, a holographic image of a man in a soldier's uniform. His face was rugged, kind, familiar. Ethan felt a chill. The man spoke. If you're seeing this, it means Asha made it to Earth. And if you're hearing me, you're the one I trusted, my descendant. Protect them, because soon, they'll come for the child. The image flickered, and a symbol appeared behind him, the crest of an alien empire Ethan had never seen before. Then everything went dark. Asha covered her mouth, tears streaming down her face. He knew. He knew everything. Ethan's heart pounded. Who's coming? She whispered, voice trembling. Not humans, not Narans. Something older, something that destroyed the stars. Outside, thunder rolled again. But this time it wasn't just the weather. A shadow passed over the town, a ship, silent and enormous, blocking the moonlight. Ethan stared out the window. They found us. The last flicker of the hologram died, leaving the workshop bathed in a strange half-light, the glow from the open box and the silvery hue of the storm outside. Ethan stood frozen, his breath heavy. The soldier's face still lingered in his mind, the voice echoing in his chest. Protect them, because soon, they'll come for the child. He looked at Asharin. Her hands trembled as she reached out, closing the box carefully, like she was handling the last piece of her broken heart. Tears shimmered on her cheeks, glowing faintly under the soft blue light. He knew, she whispered. He knew I would survive. He knew you would be here. Ethan knelt beside her. Who are they, Asha? Who's coming for the child? She swallowed hard, her voice small and fearful. They're called the Collectors. They come when they sense mixed blood, when two species break the laws of life. They erase it. To them, our child is a sin. Her eyes filled with panic. We have to run. Before Ethan could respond, a low vibration shook the floor. The windows rattled, tools clattered off the shelves. He ran to the window. The sky outside was filled with light. A massive black ship hovered silently above the town, its surface rippling like oil blocking the moon. No sound, no engine, just the eerie hum of something far beyond human design. Ethan's heart pounded. We're out of time. Asha grabbed the baby, wrapping him tightly. The box, she said. We must take it. But before they could move, A loud crash echoed outside. One of the drones, reactivated, smashing into the street. Its red eyes burned brighter than before. It wasn't alone this time. More descended from the ship, spreading through the town like hunting dogs. Ethan rushed to the back of the workshop, grabbing his old backpack and shoving in tools, batteries, and a wrench-like weapon. "There's an old drainage tunnel under the hill," he said quickly. "We can hide there till morning." Asha nodded, clutching her child. But as she turned, the metal box in her hand glowed again, brighter, pulsing like it wanted to be seen. "What's wrong with it?" Ethan asked. "It's reacting," she said, eyes wide. "It senses the collector's signal. It's waking up." The light grew so bright that the entire room filled with shimmering patterns, swirling symbols neither of them understood. Then suddenly a voice spoke from the box. It wasn't Lucas this time. It was something else. Calm, old, powerful. "Protector line detected. Final sequence initiated." Asha gasped. "That's impossible. It's an ancient command. From the Arc systems." Ethan stepped closer, squinting. "The what?" "The Arc," she said quickly. "It was built before the wars, a weapon of light that could erase darkness. Lucas studied it. He said it could save both our worlds, if someone worthy awakened it." The box cracked open, further, and a beam of light shot into the ceiling, spreading across the workshop. Within the glow, an image formed, of galaxies spinning, worlds burning, and strange black ships devouring stars. Then, the light focused on one planet, Earth. "Signal found," the voice continued. "Collector fleet inbound, 72 hours until planetary reach." Ethan's jaw tightened. "They're coming. Here?" Asha nodded slowly, her voice shaking. "For the child." The light began to dim, and the box sealed itself again, leaving the room in deep silence. Ethan turned toward Asha, his mind racing. "We can't hide from this. We need to fight." Her eyes widened. "You can't fight them, Ethan. They erase entire civilizations. They will burn this world to find him." "Then tell me how to stop them," he said. His tone was calm, but his eyes burned with determination. "There must be a way." Asha hesitated, then reached inside her cloak and pulled out a small fragment of metal, jagged, with faint inscriptions glowing faintly blue. "This tea was part of Lucas's ship," she whispered. "He called it a key crystal. He said if the day ever came, it would lead to the one place the Ark's power could be reborn, the Temple of Light." "Where's that?" Ethan asked. She looked up, eyes distant. "Under your oceans," Ethan blinked. "Our oceans? You mean—" "Yes," she interrupted. "Lucas hid the coordinates inside your planet's water grid. The Ark's energy sleeps beneath your seas. That's why he sent me here. To find you. To awaken it." Ethan's pulse quickened. "Then that's what we'll do." Asha shook her head. "You don't understand. Humans aren't built to survive that depth, that radiation. Only someone carrying both our bloodlines could survive long enough to activate it." She looked down at her baby, her eyes full of fear and love. "That means him." Ethan stepped closer. "We'll find another way." Before she could respond, the roof above them exploded in a flash of light. The force threw them to the floor. Dust and debris rained down as cold wind rushed in. Through the hole, 3 tall shadowed figures descended. Smooth black armor, glowing red eyes, and voices that hissed like broken air. "Target located," one of them said. "Eliminate the protector. Secure the child." Ethan grabbed the wrench and swung it hard, knocking one away. Sparks flew, metal screamed. "Run!" he shouted. Asha sprinted toward the back door, clutching the baby in the box. Ethan fought another one, slamming it into the wall, but its metallic arm caught him and threw him across the room. He hit the floor, blood on his lip. The baby cried, and a high, trembling sound that suddenly turned into something else. A pulse of light burst from his tiny body, shaking the air. The collector screamed as its armor melted like wax under the glow. Asha turned, shocked. "He's awakening!" Ethan staggered to his feet, staring at the baby, his skin glowing golden white, eyes blazing like stars. The remaining collectors hesitated, stepping back. Ethan moved quickly, grabbing Asha's hand. "We need to go, and now." They ran into the storm, disappearing into the dark streets, leaving behind the burning workshop and the shattered remains of the machines. From high above, the massive ship turned its focus toward them. Inside its silent hull, thousands of red eyes opened, watching. A mechanical voice whispered through the static, "Target located. Sequence, eradicate." And beneath the roaring sky, the small family ran, a human, an alien mother, and a child of two worlds, carrying a box of light that could either save humanity or end it. The wind howled through the ruins of Riversend. Smoke rose from Ethan's destroyed workshop, curling into the pale gray dawn. The town was silent now, empty streets, shattered glass, scorched walls. What had once been a quiet human neighborhood now looked like a war zone. Ethan and Asherin crouched in the shadows of an old bridge, their breaths coming fast, their bodies soaked from the rain. The baby lay in Asha's arms, glowing faintly under the blanket. Every few moments his light pulsed, soft, rhythmic, like the heartbeat of a star. "They'll track that glow," Ethan whispered, glancing at the sky. Asha nodded weakly. "I can't stop it. He's changing. His power is waking faster than I expected." Above them, the clouds split as a dark shape descended, a collector scout. Its red sensors scanned the ground, searching for signs of life. Ethan grabbed Asha's hand and pulled her deeper under the bridge, his heart pounding. For a moment, everything was still. Then the machine's beam passed over them. Ethan didn't think. He threw a rock into the far corner of the riverbed. The machine turned sharply toward the sound and fired. A blast of red energy struck the ground, lighting up the night. "Go!" Ethan hissed. They ran, their footsteps splashing through the mud, the baby pressed close to Asha's chest. The machine turned again, red eyes locking on them. A warning siren screamed across the empty streets. They ducked into an old subway tunnel, rusted and flooded with cold water. The walls echoed every sound, every breath, every heartbeat. Ethan led them through the darkness, flashlight shaking in his hand. "If we keep heading east, we'll reach the industrial zone. I used to work there, and it's full of old tunnels. We can hide." Asha followed silently, clutching the baby. She could feel his warmth through the blanket, and her mind filled with fear and wonder. "Lucas, you told me he'd be special, but not like this." The baby stirred, opening his small, glowing eyes. The moment he did, the tunnel lights flickered. The flashlight in Ethan's hand blinked and went out. Ethan froze. "What just happened?" Asha whispered. "He's draining energy. Anything electronic near him reacts. He doesn't mean to." Ethan looked at the baby, amazed. "He's not just powerful, he's alive in a way we don't understand." Asha nodded. "He's the bridge between two worlds. That's why the collectors fear him." They moved in silence for what felt like hours. The air smelled of rust and damp earth. Ethan's mind raced. He needed a plan, a safe place, something. He had always fixed broken things, but how do you fix a war between galaxies? As they reached the end of the tunnel, faint light glowed ahead, the exit. But something wasn't right. The air shimmered. Ethan held up a hand. "Stop!" Asha peered forward. Outside, the road beyond was crawling with machines. Spider-like collectors, their limbs sharp as blades, scanning vehicles and bodies left behind in the chaos. They were setting up scanners and a trap. "They're searching every street," Asha whispered. Ethan looked around quickly. "We can't go back. There's another tunnel ahead, through the factory district. But we'll need to move fast." Before they could move, a voice echoed through the tunnel, deep, metallic, and cold. "Human presence detected. You cannot hide." A collector unit stepped from the shadows behind them, its red eye glowing bright. Ethan swung his wrench, hitting the metal chest. Sparks flew, but the machine didn't stop. It grabbed him by the throat and lifted him off the ground. Asha screamed, raising her free hand. Blue light exploded from her palm, slamming into the machine. The collector released Ethan and staggered back, smoking. But Asha fell to her knees, weak. "I can't keep doing this," she whispered. Ethan coughed, gasping for air, then saw the baby's glow intensify. The child was awake now, eyes blazing with golden light. The air vibrated, a hum deep enough to shake the walls. The collector's sensors flickered. "Energy anomaly detected," the baby cried. A single sharp sound, and a shockwave burst outward. The entire tunnel shook. Lights shattered. The collector's body twisted and melted into molten metal, splattering across the ground. Then silence. Asha looked at her son, trembling. "He's not just awakening. He's defending us. Ethan knelt beside her, his voice soft. And he's getting stronger. Outside, the massive ship hovering above the town adjusted course. Its sensors detected the pulse and locked onto their location. Deep within its core, an entity spoke, neither machine nor alive. Subject exhibits arc resonance. Deploy full strike. Dozens of drones launched from the ship, streaking down like meteors. Heading straight for the factory district, Ethan and Asha emerged from the tunnel, running toward the old industrial complex, a vast skeleton of rusted pipes and broken windows. They ducked into a metal corridor. The baby's glow dimmed beneath thick blankets. Asha looked up at the sky through a hole in the roof. They'll burn everything to reach us. Ethan clenched his fists. Then we stopped running. He turned to a row of old generators and began pulling off metal plates. These can still work. I can rig them to overload, create an energy pulse big enough to knock their systems out for miles. Asha stared at him. That will kill you. He looked at her, dirt on his face, fire in his eyes. Maybe, but it'll buy you time. And time is all you need to get to the ocean, right? Her lips trembled. You sound like him? Like Lucas. Ethan smiled faintly. Maybe that's the blood talking. He connected the wires, sparks flying. Outside, the first drones descended, red lights cutting through the darkness like knives. Asha held the baby tight. The box of light began to hum again, sensing the danger. Go! Ethan shouted. Head east. Follow the coast road. I'll cover you. She hesitated, tears streaming down her face. Ethan, go! He roared. Asha turned and ran, her child glowing softly in her arms. Ethan stayed behind, facing the approaching machines. The generator screamed with power, heat rising from the floor. He pressed the final switch and whispered, For hope. The explosion of light filled the night, blinding, powerful, beautiful. The drones froze midair, their systems collapsing. The shockwave rippled across the city, erasing the collector's signal for miles. And far down the road, Asha felt the tremor and looked back. The horizon glowed, a light so bright it painted the clouds gold. She whispered through her tears, Thank you, Ethan. But deep in the ship above, the true hunter opened its crimson eyes. Human interference detected. Prepare for planetary cleansing. The war for Earth had only just begun. The night after the explosion was silent, too silent. Ashes floated through the air like dying stars. The factory where Ethan stood minutes ago was now nothing but twisted metal and smoke rising toward the gray sky. Asheran watched from the hills outside town, clutching her child close. Her silver hair blew wildly in the wind, her face pale and streaked with tears. The baby slept peacefully in her arms, his light dimmed but still pulsing like a heartbeat whispering, alive. Alive, but the man who had saved them, Ethan, was gone, or so she thought. She sank to her knees, trembling. The world felt empty without his quiet voice, his gentle smile, his courage. He was the one, she whispered, the one Lucas told me about. And I lost him. The child stirred and opened his golden eyes. For a moment, Asha froze. The baby looked at her, then past her, toward the smoke rising from the horizon, and smiled softly. Then she heard it. A faint echo in her mind. A voice distant but familiar. Asha, keep moving, her heart stopped. Ethan's voice went inside her head. She looked down at the baby, whose eyes were now glowing brighter. You're linking us, she whispered. The child's power was growing, connecting lives, bridging distance. Somewhere deep beneath the rubble, a faint blue light pulsed. Beneath the ruins, Ethan lay buried under collapsed steel and concrete. His body was bruised, blood on his forehead, breath shallow, but he wasn't dead. The explosion that should have killed him had done something else. The box of light, the one Asha had dropped during the escape, had activated as the generator blew. Its energy had merged with him, wrapping his body in a strange golden glow. In the darkness, he stirred, coughing. His veins shimmered faintly, light flowing through them like liquid fire. What happened to me? His vision blurred, and in front of him a flicker appeared, a holographic figure. Lucas Ward. If you're hearing this, you survived, said the voice. And that means the bond is complete. Ethan blinked in confusion. Bond? Your blood carries my line, Lucas continued. You were never meant to be just human. My family's genes were altered generations ago to carry the ARC signal, waiting for someone to awaken it. And now, through Asha and the child, it's awake again. Ethan's heart pounded. You're saying, I'm part of this? You are this, the voice said. You are the bridge. Protect them. You are the one she searched for. The hologram faded, leaving him alone with the truth. Ethan clenched his fists, staring at the faint light running beneath his skin. He could feel it. Power, warmth, and something deeper. A connection to both Asha and the child. He whispered into the darkness, Hold on, Asha. I'm coming. The chase continues by morning. Asha and the baby reach the ocean cliffs, waves crashing against sharp black rocks below. The horizon was endless, glowing faintly blue under the rising sun. She stood at the edge, the salty wind whipping around her. We made it to the sea, she murmured. Now we find the Temple of Light. The child reached out a tiny hand toward the water. The sea shimmered, ripples of light spreading far into the distance. Asha stepped back, eyes wide. You're calling it? She whispered. You can feel the arc. The ocean began to respond. A low hum echoed from beneath the surface. Deep, ancient, alive. The waves glowed softly, forming patterns of light that stretched toward the horizon like a path. But before she could take another step, the sky darkened. The collector's ship had followed them. It blotted out the sun, casting the cliffs in shadow. Thousands of drones descended like a swarm, their red sensors locking onto her. Asha held the child close. No more running, she whispered. If this is the end, I'll make them remember us. She lifted her hand. Blue energy flared from her palm, forming a shield around her and the child. The first drones fired, red beams slamming into the barrier. The air screamed with light and sound, but she was too weak. The barrier cracked. Her knees buckled. I can't. Hold it. Then out of the smoke a voice shouted, Get down! A shockwave tore through the air, blasting the drones backward. Asha turned, eyes wide. Ethan stood on the cliff alive, surrounded by a faint golden aura. His wounds were gone, his eyes glowing faintly like the child's. Ethan, she whispered in disbelief. He smiled weakly. Told you I'd fix things. He lifted his hand and a sphere of golden energy expanded outward. Every drone it touched froze, then collapsed, lifeless. Asha's jaw trembled. You're one of them now? He shook his head. No, I'm both, just like him. He looked down at the baby who was watching him silently. For a moment their eyes met, and the same pulse of light that had once appeared between them shimmered again. Brighter, purer. The child reached toward Ethan, and in that instant something incredible happened. Images flooded Ethan's mind. Stars, oceans of light, a vast temple deep beneath Earth's waters, and a single message repeating in his thoughts, Bring us home. The collector's ship began to charge a massive weapon, lightning gathering around its hull. Asha grabbed Ethan's arm. We have to go. Now, he nodded. The ocean, that's where the Ark is. It's calling us. Holding the baby between them, they ran toward the edge of the cliffs. The ship's light intensified, ready to fire. Ethan looked back once, at the burning sky, at the world they were leaving behind. Then he looked at Asha. Do you trust me? She smiled through her tears. I trusted you the moment you opened that door. Together they jumped. The beam struck the cliff behind them, turning rock into fire. But as they fell toward the glowing sea, the box of light in Asha's satchel burst open once more, and the ocean itself rose to meet them, glowing with radiant energy. They hit the water and vanished into the light. Far above, the collector ship scanned for life signs. There were none. But deep below the waves, something ancient awakened. A vast golden structure began to hum, its eyes opening for the first time in thousands of years. And in its heart, Ethan, Asha, and their child floated gently in the glow. The Ark had found its protectors. The one she searched for had finally become what he was meant to be. The ocean was no longer dark. It glowed from within, golden veins of light spreading across the depths like living rivers. Bubbles rose around Ethan, Asha, and the child as they sank deeper into the radiant water. Yet they did not drown. The light cradled them, warm and alive, carrying them lower and lower until the world above disappeared. Below them, a massive structure waited, a temple carved into the seabed, its walls pulsing with ancient symbols. It was not made of stone or metal, but of light solidified into form. The arc of the first dawn. Asha held her child tightly, awe and fear mingling in her eyes. Ethan floated beside her, his skin faintly aglow. The golden light running through his veins pulsed in rhythm with the temple itself, as if the ark recognized him. "It's calling you," Asha whispered. Ethan looked down at his hands, trembling. "No, it's calling us." As they drifted into the temple's heart, the walls shifted like liquid, opening into a vast chamber. In the center stood a great circular doorway made of living light. Its surface shimmered with endless galaxies, a mirror of stars swirling slowly. Asha's eyes widened. "The final door," she breathed. Lucas spoke of it. "The gate that leads to the source." Ethan frowned. "Source of what?" "The beginning," she said softly. "Where all life first awakened. The collectors fear it because it remembers why creation began. They erase what they don't understand." The child reached out a tiny hand toward the door. The golden ripples spread outward and a deep hum filled the chamber. Then a voice, neither human nor alien, echoed through the water. "Protector line confirmed. Hybrid child detected. Arc sequence awaiting command." Ethan looked at Asha, uncertain. "It's waiting for us to decide." She nodded slowly. "The arc can cleanse. It can destroy the collectors, but it will also consume itself. Once it opens the source, it will vanish forever. No one can control it twice." Ethan's eyes darkened. "So if we use it, Earth survives, but this power is gone forever." Asha held his gaze. "It's what Lucas wanted. To save, not to rule." The baby began to glow brighter, his little heartbeat thundering in the water like distant drums. The ark responded, its walls vibrating with light. But above the ocean, the collector ship had not retreated. It had found them again. Deep tremors shook the sea. Bolts of red energy pierced the waves, striking the temple's outer layers. Ethan gritted his teeth. "They're here." The voice of the ark spoke again, louder this time. "Final sequence must be authorized. Speak your will." Asha's eyes filled with tears. "If we open it now, we might not survive the light." Ethan took her hand. "Asha, if we don't open it, no one will survive, and not your people, not mine." She stared at him, the human who had opened his door to her when no one else did. "The one who carried her lover's blood, but his own heart." She nodded. "Then we open it together." They placed their hands on the door. The light beneath their skin flared, his golden, hers silver, merging into a single radiant glow. The child placed his hand over theirs, his soft voice whispering, "Home." The final door shuddered, its galaxies spinning faster. Streams of light burst outward, weaving patterns that wrapped around the temple, the ocean, and even the world above. The collector ship fired its main weapon, a beam of annihilation, straight into the sea. But as the beam hit, it dissolved into harmless light. The ark had awakened. Through the door, visions poured into Ethan's mind. Stars being born, galaxies blooming like flowers, ancient civilizations rising and falling. He saw Lucas and standing in a field of stars, smiling. "You did it, Ethan. You became what I couldn't. The bridge between hope and fear." Asha felt it too. Her people's pain, their mistakes, their longing for peace. She wept silently as she watched the ark's memories pass by like dreams. Then the voice returned, gentle but infinite. "The source awaits. Choose. Remain or ascend." Ethan looked at Asha. "What does it mean?" She smiled sadly. "It means we can go beyond, become part of the light. Or we can stay and live." He turned to the child, who looked back at him with eyes full of stars. "He deserves a world to live in," Ethan said softly. "We'll stay." The ark pulsed once, then roared to life. A colossal wave of golden light shot upward through the ocean, breaking through the surface and into the sky. It spread across the atmosphere, sweeping over continents, reaching space itself. Every collector ship, every machine, every trace of their code dissolved into particles of dust. From orbit, the Earth shone, brighter than it ever had before. The storm was gone. The skies cleared. And for the first time in centuries, silence was peace, not fear. Inside the temple, the final door began to close. The voice faded, cycle complete. The ark sleeps again. Ethan held Asha close, their child nestled between them. The walls of light dimmed to a soft glow. "It's over," she whispered. He smiled faintly. "No, it's beginning." They rose toward the surface, carried by the gentle current of the sea. When they broke through, dawn was rising, soft orange light painting the sky. The ocean was calm, reflecting the sun like liquid gold. Asha watched the horizon with quiet wonder. "Your world is beautiful," she said. Ethan looked at her and smiled. "Our world," the child cooed softly, the glow in his eyes fading to a gentle warmth. For the first time he looked human. Asha kissed his forehead. "He will have a home now, one that belongs to both our kinds," Ethan nodded. "He'll be the first of many." They drifted together in the calm sea, a human, an alien mother, and a child of two worlds, watching the sun rise over a world reborn. Far below, the ark's light sank back into the deep, waiting for the day it would be needed again. And high above, among the fading stars, a whisper carried through the cosmos, the one she searched for, has finally opened the last door.